know, people ask me about Aguero, and I go, well, it's his moment. It's Manchester City's moment.
Must be. I remember the one that stands out to me the most would be, you're probably aware what I'm going to say, is when Martial made his debut.
Yes, yeah. That, I can understand why people would think that. But did I not think I support Manchester City when Aguero scored?
Welcome. How are you?
I'm very good.
Good to see you.
Very nice to be here. Fantastic, isn't it?
It is basically a treasure trove.
My whole life in a shirt. You know?
It's really simple. You get a £500 budget to buy shirts, whether for yourself or anyone else.
Right, I didn't know that.
We basically just get right into it and let's have a look around.
That's extremely generous of you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll probably find one that costs £600.
If you do that, then we can.
We'll have a deal.
We'll have a deal. Did I actually just overhear you, by the way, that you've played in a charity match for the Chuckle Brothers?
I played at Rotherham United. It was a testimonial match.
Yeah.
For a wonderfully named player called Trevor Womble. Red Rum, the famous Grand National racehorse, kicked off. I don't mean kick off. He actually kicked the game off, went onto the pitch, and Bobby Charlton played. But I played in a pre-game beforehand, so yeah, it was fun. I played on a few league grounds actually.
Any stand out to you as being like the best?
Wembley.
Yeah, it's decent.
I've been very lucky. We had a commentators team in the from about I left non-league football '73. And then I did a year in television, missed playing, but I stumbled across it was called the BBC commentators team, organised by John Motson and Alan Parry. And we all sort of got together and it became the commentators team. We deregulated it, if you like. And we played until the Premier League started, so that's 74 to 92, played pretty much most Sundays during the season. And of course we got lucky. We used to bring in a few ex-pros to help us out, and some of them had the keys to the stadium, so to speak, so we played it at Tottenham, at Highbury, played at Brentford, the old ground there. We went abroad, we went to Tampa, we played in the States. So we had a lot of fun. We kidded ourselves we were decent players, but we had some decent players with us, which was great. I mean, I played up front in Tampa with Roger Hunt, who won the World Cup. My life is full of reflected glory. The glory of others, you know. My flatmate when I moved to London was Bob Willis, who became England's Test cricket captain. So I've had reflected glory on that. And when he moved out, another guy who I knew, Jeff Howard, he moved in. He became New Zealand's Test cricket captain. So all of the time, I'm just sitting there letting them be famous and having a bit of fun.
Let's keep going. Like, there's an anecdote that actually you won't be aware of, but something that really stood out to me is like you are someone whose life has been dedicated to football, and I remember vividly, this stood out to me a few years ago. It was Arsenal-Sevilla in a pre-season game. They were just playing a pre-season friendly, and I was in the press thing. I got an opportunity to do that day, and you came just to watch the first 40. You just wanted to watch the game of football, and then you left. Like,
yeah,
you just struck me as someone who adores the sport.
It was the day of the Community Shield, I think, and I was doing the Community Shield from a studio, not at the ground.
Yeah.
If memory serves me right, it was the day when it was played at Leicester. So I had to be back with maybe it was a 5 o'clock kickoff or something like that. Yeah, I need to see Arsenal. That was the thing. And they scored 3 in the first 10 minutes, and I could have left after 10 minutes, really. Yeah, it was not that long ago, was it?
No.
But listen, to go to see a game of football because it's work, is it work, really? I mean,
yeah, it's the best job in the world.
It's the privilege, and Arsenal understood. I mean, obviously there were a lot of people who wanted to see that game, and but Arsenal understood why, and they look after the clubs look after the commentators very well. Sometimes now it's more difficult because there's so many commentators. But at the beginning, when I was trying to make a name for myself, or not make a name for myself, to try and have a job that I knew I would love.
Yeah.
And I knew at the beginning I would love it, and here I am, very luckily still doing it. And it'll be 50 years in December since my first game, so I can't believe that's actually happening. But
first game was Southampton-Sheffield Wednesday, right?
It was. Yeah, December the 28th, 1974. This is the best story about this is Sheffield Wednesday won 1-0, and this is I keep checking this out. It's absolutely true, believe me. This is December the 28th, right? They didn't win another league game all season.
The last
from the December the 28th, They didn't win another league game all season, so I don't know. Maybe I should have gone to some of their other games.
Like you're a good luck
That
charm.
could have been their last good luck charm. But the goal came after 2 minutes, and it was scored. And any commentator will tell you, even now, like playing really, like anything where you're settling in, you probably don't want as a commentator a goal like Brentford are scoring at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, although you'd be ready for Brentford, wouldn't you? Eric Potts scored the goal, who was small and with ginger hair and could not be mistaken for anybody else on the pitch. So he scored the very first goal I ever commentated on. And yeah, managed to survive. And the best things ever been said to me was, at the end of that game was, we've got another game in a couple of weeks, would you like to do that?
Yeah, that is phenomenal.
And that was like, there's a joke, a Sky joke really. You did 2 games today, your first and your last, you know. But I didn't get that. I got the nod to come back, and that was the very first little step onto the ladder. You know?
I think people take for granted nowadays, especially like how many avenues that are into football. Whereas when you got into it, it was like you had to be the best of the best to even get a look
Well,
in.
you had to be in the right place, and I was working behind the scenes at LWT, so I was working Monday to Friday as journalist, but I met a few people from television, and out of the blue I got a call saying, would you like to come and work for us? You know, the big match, London Weekend, On the Ball, which was the precursor of the St Greaves, the football focus of ITV, if you like. But I have to stop playing. And I said no, because I wanted to keep playing. I was 27. And a guy called Jimmy Hill, who nobody of this generation would remember, but should be remembered and looked up. He was an amazing figure in football. He got the maximum wage changed. He was a PFA man. He was a good player, played for Fulham, and he became manager of Coventry, got them into the top flight, and then went into broadcasting. And I was doing a little bit of work for him as a freelance, and I told him this story, and I said, I've just turned down going to television. And he went, what? The biggest question was, how good are you to do that as a footballer? And I couldn't really come up with a decent answer. Thanks to Jim, I went home and I phoned up and I thought, please say the job's gone, because I still want to play.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, come in for a chat, and nobody else is in for it, so if you want it, you know. So then I had to go to the club that I was training with pre-season and saying I can't play, you know. And I'm still hoping they go, no, we can't manage without you. You know, you're the big guy up front. And they, the manager, who's still alive and is a very good friend of mine, it's called Mickey Stewart. He said to me that day in 1973, good luck, son. Instead of going, hey Martin, come on, you know, we go train well and we play on Saturday, first league game. And that was it. I sort of turned away and then ended up playing for the commentators team, but that started me off into television. And then to answer your real question, I was on the inside, so we had a system where we had a few weekends off during the season. So I asked if I could just go and do it and try.
Yeah. Going on to that, obviously go through to find out you're getting the nod to work on a World Cup in '78.
Yes.
What is that experience like? It must have been just, it's like the pinnacle, is it not?
Yes, and I think, to be honest, somebody said to me the other day, well, you pick your games. I had never picked my games in my life. People choose you, so you're selected. So if you're chosen for a World Cup, it's the commentary equivalent of being chosen as a player.
Yeah.
You're in the squad. And I was very much the junior in the squad. And I had a lot, not nerves, I've been doing it for 2 or 3 years now, but I was thrilled.
Yeah.
Absolutely thrilled, and go to South America, you know. And I've never been back to Argentina since, which I would love to change, because there was so much fascination about it. And I ended up nearly getting beaten up by the guards protecting the Argentina team. The one thing I have to say is my whole appreciation of shirts is numbers.
Okay.
As a commentator, numbers are the key. And in that, well, I've found some photos of it actually, just to make sure I wasn't going mad. Argentina, Adidas had the numbers, and they were in the sort of 3 lines thing, so they weren't filled in like that's a solid number.
Yeah.
But these were like outline numbers, so they were like 2 looked like 3, looked like 6, looked like 5, looked like 13, 15, 16. All the squad numbers were. And the first 3 group games, they wore these shirts. I didn't do any of those games, but I felt for those who did. And they weren't only, it wasn't only Argentina. Hungary wore them, but they had a red penmanship. It was still like that. And Gerald Sinstadt was a fantastic commentator. you can see it if you look in the archives. He only knew who scored for Hungary in a game because he lip-read what the coach said. So you and I are the coaches, and I'm the coach, I'm checking it, and the player was called Chapeau. So he's gone, Chapeau? And he saw Gerald on the monitor, read the lips. He had no idea from the commentary position because the numbers were so terrible. There was a bit of a hoo-ha about it, but this is Argentina's World Cup, so they're not going to change.
Yeah.
But they did.
It did change.
They did change. They filled in the numbers. So if you look at the games later in the competition when they're wearing the stripes, the numbers are solid. So by the time I got to them, which was against Brazil, and I was panicking like mad. So the reason I nearly I wanted to go and see the players in the flesh.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let me in because I'd missed my opportunity. I wasn't in the right place at the right time. And they said, no, sorry, you could have come yesterday, you could have seen them. So I went round the campus and found a little hole in the wire netting and spied, to be honest. But I was spotted by Menotti, who passed away quite recently, who was a very, very good coach, and obviously won the World Cup. But he was also very secretive as well. So he sent the heavies round to my part of the fence to try and extricate myself or get me out of it. They let me stay in the end. I said something like, no camera, no interview, just me, comentarista. I don't know whether that means commentator in Spanish, but maybe it does. 40 years later, Mario Kempes was the star for Argentina in that World Cup. 40 years later, I had a coffee with him in Moscow. I told him what I've just told you, and he went, yeah, I remember. We were looking up thinking, what, because the training stopped. So it was sort of a bigger issue for them than I thought it was. I knew it was a big issue for me. And I said, well, there we are, 40 years later, I promise you, I wasn't trying to steal anything.
It's amazing seeing how shirt design's evolved over the years.
Yeah.
This feels like an actual proper heavyweight shirt.
Well, that's what's often said now, and we've got a rainy day today, haven't we? And the weight of the shirt collected, like the old football did.
Yeah.
By the time we're talking now, the footballs are much better. But yeah, I mean, but Brazil is the shirt, isn't it? I guess you must do a lot of business on Brazil shirts.
Yes.
And they don't change it. You know, this is a lovely shirt, and it usually has a blue number or a green number. A white number is not so good. That's what a definition. That's the best. If you want to know what the best numbers are, that's that shirt, which was a black or dark blue on white, for commentators. And any commentator who says, "Oh, I don't look at the numbers, I know all the players." We do know all the players.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
In a crowded penalty area on a muddy, well, they don't have mud anymore. They used to for a long time, and so you do rely on it. And somebody peels away. And you end up, thinking, well, I wouldn't have got that without the number. So it's really important, and it's a big issue now. Yeah. Because the Premier League, I believe, have told the clubs with stripes that they have to have
it's like a box on the back.
Yeah.
Which makes it aesthetically for like a buyer less.
Yes, and that was the reason why they haven't done it. Newcastle, who are probably the first club, you'll tell me if I'm wrong, the first English club to really sell replica shirts. You could go to St James's Park and there'd be a bank of what looks like players with their black and white stripes on, and other clubs followed suit.
Yeah, Newcastle, Liverpool, Leeds were the first three.
Yeah.
Because like my generation of Leeds didn't get to have the fun. We got the misery of Leeds. Speaking about the football shirt, I want to talk about, you could argue these are the football shirt.
These are the football shirts. Yeah.
Your love for football, I think, is as the assistant manager at Woking.
Well, that's down the line, but I went when I was 8 years old. So actually, to get on the team photo when I was in my 70s was. I'm still in my 70s, by the way. When I was on the team photo in my 70s, and. That was a kind of dream come true, really. But it's the halves, right from the first game. One of the things people say, why did you like football? And one of the reasons was this was the Woking kit. And my dear, much missed mother died about 10 years ago. And one of the things that I was probably, we had a really happy family. But one of the things where I probably upset her was she tried to get me a replica shirt when I was about 10. Yeah. And all she could find was a quartered shirt, so she thought that would do. So instead of halves, it was the quarter, and I went, no, that's nothing, I can't wear that. And I really now, it sort of hurts me to think that I was that dismissive of it.
I'll keep this one on my arm then, potentially as one of your purchases.
Okay.
Which one do you prefer? Which shirt do you prefer of the two?
I think I prefer that one.
I like the badge on this one personally.
Yeah, the badge has changed now.
Would you say you attribute you said that touching on you attribute your love to football, like the domino effect from Woking, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. Because my family is quite sporting on my mother's side. They're all cricket and hockey. One of my great uncles played hockey for England. So I had sport, but I didn't have football. So I found something that was mine, you know, as kids do. And yeah, my dad, we lived over a shop in West Byfleet in Surrey, and so my dad was open, the shop was open on Saturdays, so he never came. I never went to football with my dad. And my mum had married my dad to get away from sport, because she'd had sport all her life growing up in her family, side of the family. So it was I ploughed a lone furrow as far as the family was concerned, but obviously I've met a lot of good friends at school. So I went to school in Guildford. They all supported Guildford City, but I supported Woking. And occasionally, in Surrey Cup competitions, they met. And very occasionally, Woking won. I was never, bullied is the wrong word, it was never that, but I had to stand up for my beliefs. So I think that entrenched my love for, and in that period, when I was at secondary school, grammar school it was then, Woking won the Amateur Cup at Wembley in 1958 in front of 71,000. So you imagine your local team as a non-league person going to Wembley, the first time I'd ever been to Wembley, and we won 3-0.
Let's keep heading around to the store. I wanted to talk about as well, obviously, we speak about your love for football, and I think that's encapsulated in your podcast, The Joy of Football.
Yeah, thank you.
There's no better person probably in the world to talk about football stories than yourself. So like having a podcast for it must be such an outlet.
It is, but some of the stories can't be told because obviously we get a lot of help from within football. Neil Barnett, who I do the podcast with, he's in a similar position because he was at Chelsea for ages. He was the pitch announcer and worked as he was their magazine editor, program editor. He knows a lot. But we don't rehearse it at all. I go to his house where we do it, and we just blather on a bit.
How have you found navigating, obviously, the change in football as well over the years? Like, it must be so, you're like someone who's seen every development of football over the last 50 years. How have you found that, and what do you think of how we've got to this position today?
Well, it's amazing. I mean, I do believe that, and I've been watching football since I was 8, I do believe the game is the most watchable it's ever been.
Yeah.
Partly because of television, which I've been lucky to have a very small role in the commentator. It's television, it's the cameramen and the directors that earn the praise, really, from within our business. You know, of course, as a commentator, you're part of it. For that to happen, why has that happened? Well, the grounds are better, the pitches are better, the kit's better. The whole ethos of a game that was really just a sport on a Saturday afternoon, even though it was very popular. It's always on the back pages of the newspapers. Yeah. Now, if there are newspapers, it's all over them, you know. Yeah. I think it's glamorous. It's still a thrill to go to games. I must say, I'm of an age where most people would push me out under a bus out there and get rid of me. But I just love it, and I think the feeling for it is what has just made me realise what a privilege it is to have had the career that I've had, and I genuinely don't want it to stop. You are the voice of football. You just are. So it's like, I don't know about that. People say, "Oh, you're the voice of my childhood," and I said, actually, I was the voice of my childhood as well. Come to think of it. But no, it's a great compliment. I think it's an associate membership. You know, it is a reflected glory on the game itself. You know, people ask me about Aguero, and I go, well, it's his moment, Manchester City's moment, you know, it's the Premier League's moment. But I just happen to be attached to it by the mediums that have become very popular. So, you know, it's an itch you can't scratch. Yeah. You know, it's just there, and if you have it, you know you've got it. I can tell. And if I meet people travelling, as long as they've got that, I'll talk the hind leg off a donkey, which I'm doing here now. That's perfect though, it's great for a podcast as well. Well, it helps, yeah, but it's been a pleasure and a privilege, and so is this, so I'm really enjoying it. Something that stands out to me as well, when I was growing up, obviously Leeds were terrible growing up. Well, not terrible, we're still in League One, which is better than most of the teams in the, you know what I mean, but we were not the Leeds that we'd been historically. So I'd watch highlights of us back in the day. I remember
the Yeboah goal.
Yeah, again, you have to be in the right place at the right time. I was at Selhurst Park. I was there when Beckham scored from the halfway line. You're just there, and somebody sent you there, and I never come away from game going, I wish I hadn't been sent. You know, because there's always something in the game.
I think is even by his standards, breathtakingly brilliant. I remember that. That was the line.
That was the one at Selhurst Park. Yeah.
Yeah, that goal stands out to me so much, and that the
because I didn't do the first
well.
one. Rob Hawthorne is still a very fine commentator on Sky. I think he did the Monday night game. It was at Ellen Road when he scored. But sometimes, and I suppose it was I think 38 years I've been doing it when the Aguero goal came up. Sometimes your moment comes, you've got to be ready for it, and whatever I think about it from time to time, the real feeling is a sense of relief that I managed to get what people still think is a worthy description of the moment.
Oh, it is, yeah. I think it's just perfection. The whole moment is perfection from a footballing standpoint, where they were getting to that moment. Like, you must, because obviously you're a fan of the game as well, you must be thinking, like when it's 2-1, like when QPR are ahead, you must be thinking, this is done.
I can remember my thought process a bit. I remember thinking Rob was doing the game at the Stadium of Light, and I got all my notes in another pile by the equipment on the gantry for the presentation.
Yeah.
And the City were very helpful. The kids go on names of wives and things like that, which perhaps now might not be given. But I had it all then in 2012. I thought, I wonder whether Rob's done all that. And I'm thinking, no, the wives and family won't be there. It's an away game, so he'll just have the. I'm thinking, but knowing Rob, he'll be really prepped for it because he's very detailed and a really good commentator. So that came through, and then I did think, I suppose when Joey Barton got sent off, there was always a thing that something could happen. And the other parallel story was, were QPR going to get relegated?
Yeah.
So that was in our minds as well. But what I must say, the picture's amazing. Tony Mills is the director, and he should get an Oscar for that because he had in charge of the split screen, when to go up there, what shots to get up there, although he wasn't directing that camera, or those cameras. And to come out as it does, you could not have post-produced it any better. And that was all live. There's nothing been added to it at all. It was just in the moment for myself, for him, for the cameraman, and the shot of Joe Hart running around
with his arms out.
It was a special day, and it would be. I wouldn't ever deny anything, and I'm always happy to talk about it because. And then I did get to meet Sergio properly just before he left Manchester City, and we talked about it. And I was able to tell him what I truly believe is that I knew he'd score before he knew he'd score.
Really?
Yeah, because he took the touch, and I'm going, this is Aguero.
Yeah.
But he was lovely about it, and I gave him my notes from which are not John Motson and Clive Tilsley, people like that do the fantastic notes. Mine are a bit more of a back of an envelope sort of stuff, but I managed to find the copy, and I gave him the original, so I copied it for myself, and he's got the originals in a frame, and sort of again, that was nice to be able to do that.
How many times do you reckon you've watched it back?
Well, I never watch it back deliberately. It comes on.
Yeah.
So yeah, quite a lot, I suppose.
Well, this is the legend section. Obviously, you've said yourself coming up like.
But they're all great numbers, you know. What I wanted to see from you was some terrible numbers.
Oh, we can get some terrible numbers there.
That's not great, Blackburn. Of course, a great shirt, great player, great guy, but that's sort of half in the red numbers aren't fantastic.
I'm going to try and find some bad. Like, sort of. Is this bad because of the stripes, or is it because it's yellow?
Yellow's pretty good, but it's not ideal. We prefer it to be like that. And Newcastle have now gone back this season.
Yeah.
Thank you, Newcastle. And I was really disappointed. I did Everton Newcastle recently, and they were a change trip, and I was really looking forward. At Everton, they didn't need to change from black and white stripes. I was really looking forward to gush about the numbers, but I've got a game at Newcastle later this month, or in fact next month. So they will be at home, so they will wear it, and I will be able to tell the world that the commentators are really happy with this. Brentford still have the dodgy numbers on. Have you got
there actually is definitely a Brentford shirt in here.
That's it. So that looks all right here.
But from like a gantry.
Yeah. And Brentford gantry is brilliant. It's really close. But that apparently now, for next season, will have to be squared off. That's what I'm told. But you'll see, you'll know before me because you'll be getting them in.
When you think about football shirts, is there one club that just stands out to you as like, you think they've had great kits throughout their time?
I like the kits that represent the same design or the same colour scheme as when I started watching football in the 50s. So, you know, obviously Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, all the big clubs, and then sometimes they've changed the shorts. Leeds did have a different kit,
Yeah, we changed to white because Don Revie wanted to look like Real Madrid.
Real Madrid, yeah. So that was before I started commentating. That was.
Is there a player specifically that stands out to you over the years as like being that?
Well, you mentioned Ajax, and Marco van Basten. I was a very, very average non-league centre forward, and Marco van Basten was the sort of player I would have liked to have been.
We need to get you some more shirts actually with a £500 budget, so I want you to flick through the rails, anything that stands out, you can put it on my arm and then we'll go from there.
Okay. You've got to remember I can't wear any shirts from clubs because I'll be accused of being biased. And
there must be the most...
That's my shirt.
Woking.
Yeah, that's my club. And people don't believe it. Oh, you must have a Premier League club. Why?
Yeah.
Where is the look? Why must I have a Premier League club? It's been a great advantage to me not to have one.
Yeah.
Because I could, and I won't out them, all the commentators that you would have heard of all have Premier League clubs, you know. And they have to deal with the issues that come with commentating on a team that you really do care about.
It must be so tedious getting that same rhetoric all the time. Must be. I remember the one that stands out to me the most would be, you're probably aware what I'm going to say, is when Martial made his debut.
Yes, yeah.
And I was like, but the story was Martial. Martial was the story.
And it was a story for me because I'd commentated on him before he'd moved to Man United, playing for Monaco in a Champions League playoff round in August, July maybe even. So I had a bit of insight as to what he was like, and yeah, I can understand why people would think that. But did I not think I support Manchester City when Aguero scored?
It's also the goal Benteke scored didn't equal. They were still losing.
Yeah.
It's like there's such a shock. Like Benteke of all people scored it. I was like, where has that came from?
Also, I have to say in defence of that, that the away teams score. It's always harder to generate passion because you're not fighting against the crowd noise.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, I think that's a fair point, to be honest with you. So, but there's no conscious bias, shall we say?
No.
It's harder. The hardest part is if you get to know the players, you know. And I always tell the story about Ricky Lambert, who I'd seen come through the lower divisions, and suddenly he found himself at Southampton, and they're promoting the Premier League. He's a Premier League player, and I did the game. The first game was it was the post-Aguero game. The next game for Man City, where I think was home to Southampton. My memory might play tricks with me, but so I went to see Southampton train, and I saw Ricky, and I said, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to." He said, "I'm only on the bench." So I said, "Oh, fine. Well, maybe you know." Anyway, he came on, and 4 minutes later he scored. So if there's a personal, I suppose, reaction to a goal that I've commentated on, you might notice that I was very pleased for Ricky. So is that bias? I don't know. Maybe it is. They lost the game, so I didn't upset anybody, but I was so pleased for him. And then, of course, he ended up playing for England. So, you know.
I actually love that you woke in your team, by the way. I love that. I think that's everything I love about football. It's like I inherited Leeds from my family. I got bullied for it at school because everyone was supporting, in the modern era, Premier League era, Chelsea, Man U. I was like, no, I was like, you don't have any connections to these clubs other than whatever. I was like, I loved my club because I had a link to it. And I love that this club is everything to you. It's the domino effect that led you to where you are now.
It is, and I've obviously got the kit still from being an assistant manager there for 4 years. And I'm helping at the academy now, very, very small role, but I go to the matches. I've come to a decision.
You come to a decision, okay.
I would like the guys who come with me,
they can pick a shirt.
that they can have the budget, because I only want the Woking shirt.
Okay.
And if I go away with something else, it will be depriving them of a fashion item. I can't wear football shirts as a fashion item.
Yeah, okay.
I could wear a Woking shirt to a Woking game. Even then, I'm a bit self-conscious of it. But I'd love to have another Woking shirt, and that's one I haven't got from that area. So that would be great. So can you let the others loose on this, because they do a lot of work for us with very, very little reward.
Okay.
So if you could feed their frenzy and it'll be something to do with Old Trafford and something to do with the Emirates.
I was gonna ask you before. I've still got an Aguero shirt. Would you be willing to sign this, and then we could do it as a giveaway?
Of course I would. Yeah.
Actually, annoyingly European print. Don't know why you couldn't get the Premier League print on that one.
Yeah.
So, but it is the season of the shirt. So, I'll look past. That's more of an annoyance for me. Two iconic Gerrard moments which stand out for me for yourself is the FA Cup final goal and the Olympiacos. Obviously, Gray takes the craziness.
Yeah, I said Gerrard, I think, didn't I?
And he jumps in with "Oh, you beauty."
Yeah. Well, that was the joy of it, and working with Andy was, it was a role reversal, because the commentator's supposed to be the loud, shouty one, and the analyst is supposed to be cool, calm, and collected and pick the bones out of the moment. But we did it the other way around. I was more analytic and calm, and Andy went off the scale, didn't he? And when the moments were right, and you know, they're great moments. It was a wonderful time working with him, as it has been with Cara and Gary Neville and Alan Smith and people like that. It's been part of the fun, you know. Again, part of the reflected glory. These are guys who I can go when we're in the match and go, well, you played against him. Well, what's it like playing here when you're an away player here? Those kind of things are a real privilege that I can't speak from experience, or if I am, it's just an external experience. So that's been part of the blessing.
Can I ask you 3 final questions, just for my own? This is my own. Loudest fans you've ever experienced? I presume it wouldn't be in England. I wouldn't presume.
No, it would be the Aguero day, because after the game, that was a Sunday, the following night, as often is the case, the LMA, the Managers Association, have their dinner. So I was scheduled to go to that back in London, and by complete coincidence I bumped into Mark Hughes, who had been the losing manager but the winner in the sense that his team at QPR, of course with his Manchester connections, was very much a focal part of the broadcast on the day. So I saw him I said, well, what a day that was, you know. And he goes, it's the noisiest moment I've ever heard in a football ground. That's when the goal went in, the 5th goal, the Aguero goal. So I'm going to pick that because I've got evidence to back it up from somebody who knows better than me, really. So yeah, that's the noisiest moment.
Favourite stadium?
So one that's very good at the moment is Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Because you have that kind of position. It is quite close, it's low, but you really feel you get the maximum benefit of the Homestead Road end at the left when you're commentating. It's the opposite side to the... I feel very guilty to say that because the press box, where so many very good people work, is probably one of the worst, tucked up in a corner in the back of the other stand.
I was going to say, finally, would it be possible to get you to try on the Woking show? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think if I was going to make one purchase today, I'm glad you've made that one.
Yeah, and it's... I hope it doesn't cost £500 because I want the lads to have their shirts as well. I can actually
tell you the exact amount is 99, so they've got £400 to spend.
Fantastic.
Where are they? Okay, you've got £400 to spend, but you've got 1 minute. You've got 1 minute to do so. 1 minute.
Done my size.
What are you going for?
I have no idea. I'm very rushed, I'm not going to lie.
You've only got a minute.
Oh, God.
I don't know what my size is.
I might just settle up on the New United away. I've wanted that. I don't know. The moment they announced this, I was on it straight away. It's more the case of it's the Adidas, you know, fashion logo, not the sports logo. It's the devil badge as opposed to the club crest. I don't mind the new sponsor because it's giving Vodafone vibes.
What have you gone for?
Just Bayern Munich goalkeeper. They're just clean and easy. Go for Dortmund white. Go from Bayern Munich to Dortmund instead of criminal.
I mean, he's done alright. He's only here because he's got dentist later. He's getting a shirt because he's got bad teeth.
He's got a day off school. He's loving it.
And he's got a shirt. He's loved it.
That is unbelievable. Thank you so much. So, thank you very much. And the generosity, the purchase for everyone, some good choices from them as well.
Well, they've been very good to me as well, so
Yeah.
payback time. What I wanted to say, Alice, before I went, I came in here an hour and a half, 2 hours ago with my club to support, and that's been reflected in the kind budget you've allowed us. But I'm leaving understanding why you're so successful. Well done, and thank you very much for asking me. I could come back in a different capacity, and then I won't have the budget, but I will go to the bank manager, so we get something sorted out. But it's been a real
Thank
pleasure.
you so much. It's been an absolute
lovely.
honour. And also, once again, we're giving away a signed Aguero shirt by Martin himself. All you have to do is check out the link in the description. Check out the Joy of Football podcast as well. It is a great listen. You've heard some of the stories here. Think about how many more are going to be on that podcast as well. So a huge thanks to Martin for coming on. This has been Away Days. Make sure to subscribe for more shirt shopping and more Away Days themselves. Ciao, ciao. Bye.